Today, I want to encourage you to reflect on the theme, it's not easy, but it is God's will. That comes from the final chapter of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 5, verses 16 and 18, when Paul encourages us as believers to do things that maybe don't come naturally, that don't come easily. He says, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. That is God's will, but as I said, don't find it easy. And let's just start with the first, rejoice always. It is not always easy when we're in physical pain, when there's a challenge in our family. I mean, the list can go on and on, right? When we're in difficult circumstances, we are to rejoice always, even then. And I think the important distinction is that we're not to rejoice necessarily for all circumstances, as we'll talk about in giving thanks. It's a similar dynamic. We don't rejoice even for the difficulty necessarily. We don't give thanks for the difficult circumstances, but we are to try to find what we can still rejoice for and about always. We are to pray without ceasing. Now, that doesn't mean we are in a physical posture of prayer on our knees or sitting with our eyes closed and our hands folded because we couldn't live our life. But to pray without ceasing is to try as much as possible to keep ourselves connected and in tune, thinking about God and God's will, the Spirit being with us, Christ being with us, and being engaged in just a continual day-long dialogue with God, listening and speaking throughout our day. And to give thanks in all circumstances. Again, not for all circumstances, but in all circumstances. And I referred to this past Sunday when I had a quote from John of the Cross, who talked about giving thanks basically in an adverse time, in a difficult circumstances, that when we give thanks then, it's more powerful than when we give thanks many, many, many times when everything is going great for us. And so what Paul is really writing to here with these three things about rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, it's our attitude and perspective and approach to life. And it's the way that we can lift ourselves out of challenging, painful, and difficult circumstances by still looking at what we have to rejoice, by remembering we can still hear from and speak to God in prayer, and that we can look to give thanks even for the smallest thing when life is hard.